Welcome back, Ford family, back at Haik Ford. My name is Nathan Wood here, and what we have to review for you today is the all-new Ford Lightning. Now, this is not the SVT package supercharged V8. Instead, it's a dual-motor all-electric, which is an amazing feature for the F-150. Now, this only comes in a crew cab, and there's two battery configurations you can get on this. You can get a 98 kilowatt and a 131. Now, the 131's extended range is going to produce you about 580 horsepower with 775 foot-pound of torque. Now, the 98 kilowatt battery pack is only going to produce a 426 horsepower, but also 775 foot-pound of torque. With this all-new Lightning, what Ford has done is they're actually bringing back the iconic designs of the older era and bringing them into electrification, kind of bringing in the old body styles that everyone knew and loved for their horsepower and torque and their fast output, and then redesigning them into an electrified version of them. This particular truck has the ability to tow 7,700 pounds and also have a payload capacity of around 2,000 pounds. Now, you can up that with the heavy tow package to right around 10,000 pounds. As you increase your payload by going to extended range, you will reduce how much capability you have for towing. All right, folks, so now up in the front of the Ford Lightning, we have this beautiful LED lighting that runs all the way across. Now, you can't really see it in the daylight, but towards the night, it is a daytime running light, so it will light up the entire area of the front end of the vehicle, and as it's coming down the road, you'll know it's an iconic Ford Lightning. In the front as well, we have these beautiful projector headlights, which are coming from the current F-150, just a little bit redesigned just for the Lightning. They give you the bright LED headlights so you can see what's coming down the road. Now, through the grille, you have this beautiful gray matte finish with these geometrical shapes. Now, of course, this vehicle doesn't have an open-winded grille because there's no radiator behind it. So this is an entire enclosed space, which is known as the Mega Frunk. And then as we move on to the Mega Frunk, you'll find that it can stow up to 400 pounds of weight and also has 2.4 kilowatts of onboard power. We'll show you that a little later. Moving on down towards the bumper, of course, you have your front sensors just like you do on current F-150 and 360-degree camera. So as you approach an object, you have those sensors to kind of tell you where you are in correlation to the front end of the vehicle. Down here, there is an open area, and that is to allow air to come through. Now, this is a water-cooled lithium-ion battery, and so in some cases, it has a radiator to kind of help cool that water that's pushing through there. And I mean, in some cases, what I mean by that is it'll open and close as necessary. As it's cold outside, it'll keep it closed. As it's hot outside, it'll open it up to cool off that water a little faster, so it helps to circulate the battery temperature and keep it right at the prime temperature for operations. And then, of course, you do have your tow hooks up in the front, which is, natural thing for an F-150 to have, towing people in and out of spots, pulling them out of the ditch, which this thing can do absolutely phenomenally. And then up here in the front, you have this cutout section. This is where the rubberized button for the Mega Frunk is. It's just right inside. You'll feel it and you'll pop it. All right, folks, so now let's move on into the Mega Frunk and show you just how capable this front end of this vehicle is. Popping the rubberized button underneath of the hood, or the frunk as you will. The frunk will open up. It is all power, so you can do it by key, you can do it by the button, or we can do it from the infotainment system in the inside. Now, as I mentioned previously, we can haul up to 400 pounds in the Mega Frunk. That's insane. Now, this capacity is about the same size as your current sedan. This trunk is actually quite massive. Hauling up to 2 sets of full golf clubs is quite incredible. And if your buddy or your friend or neighbor happens to need a charge on jumper cables, there's a section for that. 12-volt battery. It's an access port right here, and then also stated here is Ford's first electric EV we've ever created, which was in 1913. Now, we've been in the manufacturing process for over 100 years, so you can trust that when we build something in mass production, it's going to be absolutely impeccable. And you do have a light button right here, which is also rubberized, so it's waterproof. And so if you want to go incognito, you can click that button, or if you need that light, you can certainly turn it on. And of course, there is an escape button as well. So if anyone ever tried to close you in the Mega Frunk, just jokingly around, you can always click that. And it is wrapped around a glow-in-the-dark outline, so you can certainly see it while you're stuck inside there. Now, I can't call it a Mega Frunk without it having mega power. So this vehicle is equipped with 2.4 kilowatts of power. That's 4 household outlets at 20 amps. And then I've also got a USB Type A and a USB Type C inside of here. So then under this cover is actually some more storage space. And as I mentioned before, if you forgot, 400 pounds hauling in the front, 400 liters, so they go ahead and give you that data up front in case you forget. And then also you've got a ruler up here in inches should you need to use that, and then also some cup holder slots as well, which is actually quite convenient. Now this panel does come off to reveal where you can, if you'd like to, keep your storage bag for your charging station. And then you come with a couple of adapters as well to help you in charging. Now this one comes equipped with the Tesla adapter, which is great. So if you find that DC charging station and it's only Tesla, you can use that adapter to go ahead and power up your Ford Lightning. And then in addition to that, down here in the bottom, there's a drain. So I can fill this thing up with ice down here, put my cold beverages, pop my Mega Frunk, right, at a car show or wherever I may be, baseball game, grab those cold drinks and have a great time. This Mega Frunk is power, so you can operate it either the push button, rubberized button right here, you can do it from the key, and you can also do it from the infotainment system, where we'll show you later on how that operates. All right, Ford family, so there's 4 different levels of Ford Lightning. You have a Pro, an XLT, a Lariat, and a Big Daddy Platinum. Now the Platinum has, on extended range, it's standard, it has a 300-mile range, and that's due to its 22-inch wheels and maybe a little bit more accessories as far as payload and having the massage chairs and things of that nature. The Lariat has a range between 230 and 320, and that's because on the 320 we can get the extended range, and then on the standard battery range we can get up to 230 miles, but also it has a lot to do with the wheel dimension. Now this is a 20-inch wheel, so as we're increasing the wheel diameter, we're decreasing our range. Same thing were to happen if you lifted the vehicle or just added a bigger wheel and tire to it. Now in charging your Ford Lightning, if you get the extended range battery, you will also get the Ford Pro charge station included on that. Now that's a level 2, it'll plug into your 240, 30 amp is what most people have in their house, but actually it'll accept all the way up to 80. Now it is important that you set up a dedicated circuit for that. Now Sunrun is the authorized installer for Ford, so link down in the description below for Sunrun. You can actually add their power station to your home. They're the only ones that are authorized per Ford. Cost about $3,900. It's not included in the price and sale of the vehicle. If you have a power outage, conservatively, it'll power your home for up to 10 days. Well, if you want to be unconservative, it'll power it for 3 days. So Sunrun is the authorized installer for that. And I know folks have heard that the vehicle can keep my house alive with power, 3 to 10 days, depending on how I use my energy. Sunrun is the authorized installer for them per Ford, so we're gonna link that description down below. Now moving on to the charging stations and the charging port itself for the Ford F-150 Lightning, it's actually on the driver's side. So keeping in symmetry, I have another vent on the other side. It's actually just the port itself. It does not open at all. So this is the only opening port. You just push it and it'll open up. And then of course you have your charge connection here. Now on the lower lid there is your DC fast charge, and as you remember in the front, if we had to charge at a Tesla fast charge station, we do have those adapters. Ford already included those for us. And as mentioned previously, with the extended range battery, you will get the Pro station in the vehicle, so you can set that up at your own home. All right, folks, so one thing I haven't heard anyone talk about at all, in fact, I stumped a Ford representative, they didn't even realize it. The Ford Lightning's body has a crease in it. It's different from current F-150, which just tapers down. So this body line is only exclusive to the Ford Lightning, and it'll run this crease on the front fender and onto the back of the F-150's bed back there. Now, this is the first independent suspension F-150 Ford's ever built. And so thus, they had to put a really, really durable independent suspension back there to be able to tow the weights that we have listed. So with the extended range, you're getting that 7,700 pounds of towing. But on the standard range, you're only getting the 5,000. Now, I wanna make sure that's very clear because some folks may have those questions at their local dealership or here at Haik Ford. That is the actual accurate information. With that independent suspension and its beefy design, you're only capable of towing 7,700 pounds on extended range and then 5,000 pounds on your standard battery range. All right, folks, so one really cool technical side to the batteries on this Ford Lightning now. We all know Tesla has batteries that weigh thousands of pounds, right? That's no different with this Ford Lightning. And being that they weigh thousands of pounds and they're inches off the ground, giving us the best low center of gravity for these vehicles. Now, this truck is really, really fast and has a really low center of gravity. Now, the handling on it is really, really tight. Everything's amazing about it, but talking about these batteries specifically, now this truck's frame is different from the current F-150's frame. They designed this frame from ground up with that rear independent suspension. But what's great about the batteries itself, they have individual designed battery packs within an entire battery section. So if a cell dies within a battery pack, they can simply remove that instead of removing 1,000-pound battery section of a vehicle. They can just remove the one pack and replace it. It's really quick, really easy. It's more effective for your time and it's more effective for Ford technicians' time. So it's a really ingenious design on Ford's side, and that really demonstrates that 100 years of manufacturing process. All right, so now moving on over to Ford's EV wheels on this Ford Lightning. Now, they are flat in nature, and a lot of folks may have questions about that, but simply put, they're flat for aerodynamics. I'm trying to reduce the amount of drag that the vehicle is creating. So if I put aftermarket wheels on here that are not flat, you can and will notice a range difference. All right, folks, moving on over to the back of the Ford Lightning. Of course, we have that different body style as mentioned before. So you have this crease in the bed of the Ford Lightning. And of course, you can't go without having a blue accented over black Ford Lightning badge, just showing off that it is a Ford Lightning. And of course, it's got the Thunderbolt in case you had any questions. And then of course, the taillight is absolutely beautiful. It has this designed like lightning bolt design, if you can see it there. So moving on over on the side of the taillight, you have the Ford F-150's badging within the taillight. And of course, just like I just mentioned, this is a lightning bolt design. Now this taillight does span the back side of the vehicle all the way across the tailgate from side to side, which is absolutely beautiful. It is matching that of the light bar up front. Now this is a radar blind spot monitoring system, so it will do that 13 feet wide and 33 feet long for the trailer that you will be connecting to your Ford Lightning. It'll make sure it's got blind spot covering for that length. And in conjunction with that, you still can do your tire pressure monitoring and pressure sensors for the trailer, on the trailer, using the Ford TPMS sensors. That's the same industry standard that we have with F-150. We're gonna give that to the Lightning as well. Moving on over, you of course see the American flag on this side and then the blue lightning bolt. Now Ford has left a cutout in that lightning bolt just to kind of display the color that you've painted your Ford Lightning. And in this case, we've got the carbonized gray. So it's a beautiful touch on Ford's end. And then of course on this tailgate, you can see it's much, much different from F-150. You've got this beautiful groove that kind of comes out and back into the tailgate. So it's very, very different from the current F-150. And I think it adds a lot of style and flair to the rear of this vehicle. And then in conjunction with having the taillight bar that runs the entire mast of this rear tailgate, you have your reverse lights, which are really up high, kind of letting everyone know that you're backing up. And then underneath of that, we've got the reverse camera, which also has the ability to look down at the ball. Now later we'll talk about the 360 camera system and the infotainment system, but for now, we'll just show it right here. And then of course it is a power tailgate. It'll come both up and down. And in this case, we still have the tailgate step. You just click this square button here in the middle, out comes the step, and then of course the handle, 1, 2. So as listed 1, 2, just wait for it to come all the way up and then away you go. On up. Now it's really convenient to have these steps on these trucks because I'm not that tall, I'm about 5'9". But it's still above hip height or right at hip height, and no one wants to try to climb up into their Ford F-150 or their Ford Lightning, so having this step makes it really, really convenient. Now, I've also had customers ask me, well, why isn't there one on both sides, and why is there one only on the left side when I'm pulling my body weight up? Well, simply put, most folks, and I'm not excluding you guys who are left-handed, most folks are right-handed. So coming down, you're putting most of that pressure there on that right hand and you just step down. Now, another thing I haven't talked about before with tailgate step, and I get a lot of interesting feedback on this with folks, this is a spring type step. And what it has is it has a grip tape finish on top. And what's that designed to do is as I step into the springboard, it's gripping the bottom of my shoe. It's digging it into that surface, allowing me to get maximum traction on that step so I don't slip if I'm coming down or up off of the step itself. And then just putting it away is really quite simple. Click the 1, push it down. 2, we're going down and in. 3rd step, slide it in and it's done. Now, in conjunction with this tailgate step and the work surface on this vehicle, which we have covered in a previous video, we'll cover it here really quickly. I have inches and centimeters on this work surface. Of course, I have a space for a tape measure, a spot for my phone back here in the back, a couple slots for some pens. I've got a couple more slots for pens and markers of that sort. The tailgate is where the party happens, so I have not only a bottle opener, but I can use that as a double for a tie down. And then I've also got a clamping mechanism here through this little cubby hole here. You can clamp your piece of wood, you can cut it off with your circular saw, you can also use it as a vise to hold a certain device down or a certain object down while you're working on it. And then moving on over to the side, of course, how am I going to use those circular saws? How am I going to use a chop saw? How am I going to use a welder? Well, with the Ford Lightning, we have Pro Power on board. It's 7.2 kilowatts of power. And like I mentioned earlier, this one here up on top, that's going to be 240 volts at 30 amps. That's level 2 charging capable. So you could charge someone else's EV off of this vehicle if you needed to get them a little extra range. You find them stranded on the road. It'd be nice for you to help out another individual who's also riding an EV vehicle. And then in conjunction with that, you have your 120 outlet, 20 amps, 2 of them here. Then you have another 2 right here. Now, I don't have to go into the cab to turn this feature on. I can simply just turn this green button on and I've already got power on demand. I can start using it right away. If any of these were to pop a breaker, the breakers are they're really simple. You just push these 2, one of the 2, depending on which one you broke, and it'll be illuminated to where you can actually find out which one popped. Maybe you're drawing too much energy out of that one socket and maybe you need to divide it amongst the rest of them there. So really good, useful power output in the back of this vehicle. This is the same generator output that you can find in your F-150 hybrids, and that can be on any level of hybrid, but of course this is going to be on every level of Ford Lightning, so this will always be here. Like I mentioned, you can option for the 9.6 kilowatt output, which is going to give you the Mega Frunk power, but if you didn't, you will certainly have this, and this one being the big daddy of them all, 240 volts at 30 amps. All right, folks, so the rest of the part of this bed is actually pretty pretty much the same as your current F-150 layout. You have an LED bed light system in here that's gonna flash LED bright light into the inside of the bed. And then of course you got the fifth wheel bed camera and the third brake light also shining light down into the bed should you not have a cover on it. You may or may not put a cover on this due to you having the front trunk or the mega frunk as it's called. But if you need additional storage space, you can certainly put a cover on this and have additional equipment go in here under covered space. You also have these tie downs. They are included on every F-150 as long as they're included with the brackets, and those are lockable by key. It adds additional tie down points within the bed of the truck. And then of course, since I have the tail lights, reverse lights on here on the tailgate itself on the opposite side, Ford's gone ahead and integrated a reverse light within the cover of this tailgate. So when you do drop this tailgate, if you do find yourself putting it in reverse, don't worry, the people behind you will see that your reverse lights are on. And so they've gone ahead and done that for us as well. And it's sort of hidden and tucked away, which makes it sort of convenient.